Sometimes a single moment is all it takes to derail even the most promising wrestler's career. So in today's video, we'll be taking a look at shocking backstage incidences to live disasters that led to the downward spiral of some of your favorite wrestlers. And kicking things off with, Big Cass losing his cool on SmackDown.
This is disgusting.
Big Cass, once primed to be WWE's next big giant, was on the rise after splitting from his then tag partner Enzo Amore. But his downfall came in 2018 due to a poor decision. First, he went off script during a segment where he attacked a little person dressed as Daniel Bryan, and second, refusing to follow WWE's instruction to keep the segment short. But that wasn't all. Reports of unprofessional behavior, including an incident where he got stuck in a bathroom and literally broke the door down, made him a liability backstage. And eventually, WWE had no choice but to release him, halting what could have been a dominating singles run. Though I would mention Big Cass has worked hard into rebuilding his career, battling personal demons and finding redemption on the indie scenes, as he's made appearances in Impact Wrestling and AEW, proving that sometimes a second chance is all you need. As for his former tag partner, he didn't fare much better. Once seen as a future top prospect, Enzo Amore was one of the most charismatic personalities in WWE. Fans loved his mic skill, and his larger-than-life personality and the ability to hype a crowd was up there with some of the best. This, alongside his catchphrases before his matches, made him hard not to like.
Byron, you must be excited. All your favorites on the show tonight.
Oh, we had the New Day earlier. Now we got Enzo Amore, Big Cass. It's like Christmas.
But in 2018, Enzo's career came crashing down when sexual assault allegations surfaced. WWE was quick to release the then Cruiserweight champion, citing that he failed to inform the company about the investigation beforehand. And just like Big Cass, on top of this, the fact that he wasn't liked much backstage due to his loudmouth antics, and at one point even got kicked off a bus while on tour by Roman Reigns. And this was enough for WWE to cut ties with him when the news broke out, even though he was a cash cow for them. Although we did later find out that the charges were dropped due to insufficient evidence, but the damage to Enzo's reputation was irreversible. But like most cases like this, the wrestling world moved on without him, and he did attempt to rebrand himself in the music industry and independent promotions, where he even invaded a WWE show when he turned up in the crowd as a fan. But ultimately, it just failed. That being said, he's made numerous appearances on podcasts to clear the air with what happened with that girl on that night, so I'll leave it to him to explain.
What happened to me? What went wrong? Fucking lying ass hoe out in Phoenix.
So moving on, number 3 on this list came to a surprise to many at the time, as Mandy Rose's content controversy ended up costing her WWE job. To say the least, Mandy was in contention for being one of the top female performers when she was with the company. She was at a peak of her career in 2022, reigning as the NXT Women's Champion for an impressive 413 days. But in December 2022, her career took a sudden turn. WWE released Mandy after it was revealed that she had been posting explicit content on a private subscription site, which reportedly violated the company's policy. And at the time, fans were divided. Some argued that WWE overreacted with her firing, while others felt that Mandy had outgrown the company due to her ongoing popularity online. And despite the abrupt end to her WWE run, Mandy has leaned into her entrepreneurial venture, reportedly earning more from her online content than her WWE salary. And when speaking to Renee about the whole ordeal on her podcast, she did mention that she was caught off guard when it actually came to her dismissal, as everything seemed so rushed at the time.
So it was just saying to take the link down. So I complied, obviously. And then the next day was when I lost the title and got fired the following day.
As for the next entry, it shouldn't come to a surprise to many. Alberto Del Rio was one of WWE's biggest stars, known for his in-ring talent and unforgettable heel persona. But his career unraveled due to a series of controversial incidences starting from his abrupt firing in 2014. Del Rio reportedly got into a backstage altercation with a WWE social media employee who made a racist joke towards him. Del Rio then lashed out, which led to his initial dismissal. So while many fans initially sympathized with Del Rio, his post-WWE behavior would tell a different story. After his departure, Del Rio's career spiraled into chaos. While he briefly returned to WWE in 2015, this stint was a lackluster one, and he left the company again in 2016. And while it will be easy to say that this was due to him violating his wellness policy, the real controversy came after, which pretty much put the nail in the coffin of him ever returning. Del Rio became embroiled in a high-profile legal and personal issue, including accusation of domestic abuse and assault involving his ex-wife Paige. And in addition to all of that, in 2020, Del Rio was arrested and charged for aggravated kidnapping and sexual assault in a case involving his former girlfriend. And while those charges were later dropped, the damage to his reputation were irreversible at this point. These controversies turned Del Rio from a celebrated wrestler to one of the most divisive figures in the wrestling world. Now, far from the bright lights of WWE, Del Rio wrestled sporadically on the independent scenes to a far smaller crowd. So, from a controversial magnet to a man who was just at the wrong place at the wrong time. Robbie McAllister isn't a name many fans will be familiar with right now, and there's a reason for it. So to set the stage, it's cool to see performers from WWE that now can attend other promotions so that they could support their friends. This wasn't the case back in the day. Unless you were among the top names in the company, this was strictly forbidden. So Robbie McAllister, who was in a tag team called the Highlanders, did nothing wrong, but any push the team was getting got derailed after Robbie decided to attend an episode of TNA Impact. Poor Robbie was put on TV, and then he was even introduced by his real name. WWE quickly told Robbie to leave the show immediately, and this affected Robbie a lot, as both members of the Highlanders were soon released. And thankfully, nobody has gone through something like that underneath Triple H's regime. But speaking of Triple H and his regime, Scott Steiner's career took a hit due to his outspoken criticism of WWE's management, and while there isn't one particular interview he did that ruined him, it was more so what he said about Triple H and Stephanie McMahon after he left in 2004. Known for his controversial comments, Steiner often vented his frustration with WWE in an interview. He publicly called Triple H and Stephanie the two biggest douchebags and accused them of mismanaging the company, which obviously didn't sit well with the company and the WWE executives. And that vocal side of things that I mentioned, see for yourself.
I don't really have a problem with Vince, but his douchebag daughter, and then Triple H, he wouldn't be in wrestling if he wouldn't be fucking a boss's daughter, so,
That's right.
And then on top of all of that, he also dismisses WWE's creative direction, referring to the product as horrible and lamenting how wrestlers are constricted by repetitive script and lack of creative freedom. As from where all this hate is coming from, Steiner's issues stem from his experience working with WWE during the early 2000s after a high-profile feud with Triple H. And I know to the fans this might just seem like sour grapes, but these public outbursts not only burned the bridges between WWE, it also highlighted Steiner's reputation as a decisive figure in wrestling, overshadowing his significant contributions during his WCW and early WWE run. Although I do have to say he was eventually inducted into the Hall of Fame with his brother in 2022. As for the next wrestler, I doubt we will ever see him in any company's Hall of Fame. Austin Aries' career took a significant hit following his infamous behavior at Impact Wrestling's Bound for Glory 2018 event. During this pay-per-view, Aries lost the Impact World Championship to Johnny Impact. So instead of selling the loss professionally, Aries no-sold the finish, flipped off the crowd and the Impact executives and walked out the arena immediately after the match. And unfortunately for him, all of this was caught on camera.
There's your business. You happy? You happy? Good. See what that mother can do now.
You're not a professional if you have to point out you're a professional.
This unprofessional display left fans and colleagues shocked, leading to many questions whether the outburst was scripted or genuine. The controversy was fueled by the feud between Aries and Johnny Impact that blurred the lines between fiction and reality, with both men engaging in personal attacks, including comments about Johnny's wife, Taya Valkyrie. So whilst mistakes do happen in the ring, Aries later admitted that his actions weren't intended to be his final appearance for Impact Wrestling. However, his contract expired shortly after the event, and he opted not to renew, missing the opportunity to turn this situation into a storyline payoff. So whilst reflecting on the incident, Aries expressed the regret of his actions and how they tarnished his legacy in Impact Wrestling. And this incident has since become the defining moment in Aries' career, overshadowing past accomplishments and making it challenging for him to regain his footing within the industry. As for Jackson Riker, his reasoning upon why you won't see him in WWE is still up to debate. The pandemic era didn't do a lot of performers much favours, and Jackson fits perfectly into this category. Jackson was one member of the Forgotten Sons stable, and at the time, Riker posted a tweet supporting then President Donald Trump, referring to him as the greatest president ever, while also stating, "God bless America." The timing of the tweet was widely criticized as insensitive, given the context of the widespread protests addressing the police brutality and racism within the country at the time. The backlash wasn't limited to fans. Many WWE colleagues, including Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, publicly criticized his comments. This fallout caused WWE to quickly remove Riker and his stable, the Forgotten Sons, from TV, despite their recent debut on the main roster. Although Riker later returned to WWE programming in a solo capacity, his momentum was completely fizzled out. He was eventually released in November 2021 as part of that wave's talent cuts. But back in 2002, talent cuts were just as normal back then as they are now, as the two-time Hall of Famer managed to get released by WWE because of a certain incident on a plane. This might come to a surprise to many, but Scott Hall, a founding member of the New World Order and a wrestling icon, was released from WWE in 2002 due to issues stemming from his personal struggles with substance abuse and unprofessional behavior. Hall returned to WWE in early 2002 as part of the New World Order alongside Kevin Nash and Hulk Hogan. However, his run was short-lived, lasting only a few months. Reports from the time indicated that Hall exhibited erratic behavior backstage and during live events was often intoxicated. And his issues came to a head during the infamous plane ride from hell in May of 2002. To sum it up, a WWE charter flight going from the UK to US, during the flight, Hall reportedly engaged in inappropriate and disruptive behavior, influenced by alcohol and other drugs, with wrestlers coming out saying that they had to babysit him all the way back home to the US. The incident contributed to WWE's decision to release Hall shortly afterwards, as the company determined that he was not in a position to continue performing effectively. This issue even managed to drag in Kevin Nash a bit, because when Vince McMahon was addressing the WWE roster about the new Ruthless Aggression era, he specifically name-dropped Nash, and by the look on his face, you can see that he was visibly annoyed with what Vince had to say.
If you, Kevin Nash, don't live up to expectations, you could be joining the unemployment line with your buddy Scott Hall.
Whoa!
It kinda pains me to put Rob Van Dam of all performers on this video, as his career hit a major turning point in July 2006 due to a drug-related arrest that immediately and severely impacted his WWE status. At the time, RVD was riding a big wave on his career, holding both WWE Championship and the newly renewed ECW Championship after his memorable win over John Cena at ECW One Night Stand. However, while traveling with Sabu, RVD was pulled over for speeding, and the vehicle was found to contain marijuana and prescription pills. And that was it. The news quickly spread and Vince McMahon decided to act swiftly. Over 2 consecutive nights, RVD was booked to lose both his titles, dropping the WWE Championship to Edge on Monday Night Raw and the ECW Championship to Big Show the following night. He was then suspended for 30 days under WWE's new wellness policy. And at the time, you could tell the match with the Big Show really affected him, as he himself let the fans know his thoughts on the match. RVD later reflected on the incident, acknowledging his disappointment in letting McMahon down during a critical moment in his push.
I had to drop the belt to Big Show, and it was just like the negative energy of all the boo, and everybody threw their cups and all their garbage in the ring, and I just felt like I let everybody down. I just rolled out of the ring, and I rolled under the ring because everyone was throwing shit, and I remember thinking man, just leave me here. I don't even, I'm gonna stay here till everyone's gone. That's how I felt.
However, he also maintained his stance as a cannabis advocate, explaining that his arrest highlighted his role in normalizing marijuana discussions in wrestling and beyond. And despite the setback, RVD has stated that he does not regret the incident, viewing it as a pivotal life lesson.